Well, I thought we should add a log holder to go by our fireplace for the doll's house. Stay tuned and see how fun and easy this project is. All right, these are the pieces to make our log holder that can sit next to the fireplace. And this pattern is put together a little differently, so we'll go over that. But first, let's go over where you get the pattern and rules, that kind of stuff, because assembly is going to take a little explanation as we go. The blog post for this video is linked in the description box below the video. You can go there. There'll be a link to take you directly to a free downloadable pattern. There'll be a PDF if you want to hand cut the pattern, or if you want to use your electronic cutting machine like a Cricut or Silhouette or something like that. There's a PNG and a text file talking about sizing of the PNG and any other hints and tips I have for that specific one. You're free to make as many of these as you want. You're free to sell the log holders when you're done. You can do whatever you want to with the finished item. Just please don't sell or give away my pattern. Send them to the blog and the video, because the little bit of compensation I get for you guys clicking on the video, clicking on the blog, that's all I get from designing these patterns. And this one, actually, as simple as it is, took me a little bit longer to do than I thought it would. So we're doing this, with the assembly of this one is done a little differently. And the first step, 2 of the circles, I went through and as close as I could with my ruler, I made a mark on them to find the center each direction and the center of it. So we're going to use those. I have a empty glue stick here. This is one of those regular size glue sticks from the dollar store. It's about 3/4 of an inch in diameter. You need something about 3/4 of an inch in diameter, and it's covered in parchment paper. This is our form we're going to glue this all together on top of. I have some thick tacky glue. I have a toothpick. I also have a couple of new of these hair tie things. You could use rubber bands. I have long hair. I have a lot of these. I don't usually have rubber bands on hand. So we're going to assemble it in steps. Normally we make units and then we assemble the units either before or after painting. For this, we're actually going to assemble the entire log holder on top of this basically jig. This is our form or our jig that we're building on top of. The parchment paper is here. You could use wax paper also. It's here so it doesn't stick. We don't want to take a chance on it sticking. Take one of your unmarked pieces, circles. That's what that's called. It's a circle. I'm still getting over my head cold, and I'm still coughing and choking on stuff draining out of my sinuses. So I know TMI, but just a warning, I am very congested still. I'm just glad to be able to breathe at least a little bit. All right, so we've got that. We're going to take one of the marked ones and leaving the marks where we can see them. And don't worry, we're going to paint all this when we're all done. And now we're going to put this, and I want the one that's easier to see right there. I'm going to take this, and I'm going to use this to hold this to the shape of my glue stick. I should have put this on earlier. Come on. Okay, now it'll work. This is just to help make sure this stays in shape. And I tried doing this a couple of different ways, and I found it really needs to be made on the glue stick, one set of pieces at a time, because if we don't do that, it tends to not fold nicely. So we're going to set that aside to start drying. While that's happening, we're going to take these 3 rectangular pieces and just make our just put them together like we normally do. And this can be set aside because we want this to be dry when we're ready to use it. Now, you might be asking, why are we, if I said we're going to paint it, why aren't we just using colored cardstock? I find that the paint does not fade as much when the piece is displayed, and also the paint helps disguise the fact that this is made of cardstock and not metal. We want to make this look like it's done in metal when you're done. All right, so we're going to put that. This piece is small enough, it probably doesn't need to have a weight on top of it. You can put a weight on it if you want. Just get it lined up as best you can and set it aside. Now I want this glue to start drying. I am going to cover my glue so that that glue will remain usable for the rest of the day. And when that has had some time, I don't want this to come apart when I do the next step, because we're going to build the next step right on top of here. So I'm going to let this dry a little bit, and then I'll be back. All right, the glue has had time to set up so this won't, come apart when we go to work with it. And we're going to do a couple of steps. Now this piece is purposely too long. I'll let you know that right now, because just in case, your thing that you're putting yours around is a little bigger around or whatever. I just want to make sure it was plenty big. I like to cut it to size rather than end up shorting myself. Now I'm going to put glue on the round too, because we are going to be finishing this part up. Oops, am I under camera? All right. Now, line these up. Now, using this line, come on, come back here. Oops, dropped my scissors. That goes around. Make sure you keep these lines on the outside again. Line that up as best you can. Then now line this up. It's not going to fit perfectly. It's going to be a little bit smaller, but that's okay. It's kind of the look we're going for here. Tuck that over it. Tuck one of these over the end and leave it to dry all the way. So when this is dry, I'll come back and we can move on to the next step. All right, my glue has had time to dry, so I'm going to very carefully remove these and slide it off. Now we have a nicely formed log holder. Now that line that we put on the bottom, we did that to help us have a placement for this. We kind of center it, and you are eyeballing it, so you'll have to kind of put it where you're happy with it. And off camera, I will probably fiddle with it a little more. But now that glue needs to dry, and when that's dry, we can come back and finish this up. All right, the glue is dry, and I've got just a little bit of that blue poster tack stuff on this craft stick. I'm going to push my log holder down into it And then we can get most of this painted while it's on here, and then once this paint dries, we can pop it off and paint the part we can't get now. So I've just got black craft paint, and I'm going to use a relatively soft brush. I can't talk today. A relatively soft paintbrush, so it'll get into all the spaces. And since we're painting black over white, it will probably take 2 coats. I'm kind of anticipating having to do a second coat, which I'll do off camera. We all know how to do that. Pay particular attention around the edges to kind of disguise those different layers, and make sure you don't miss any spots so there's white showing. So I am going to go ahead and get this painted. And when I get both coats on and it's ready to pop off of here and do the bottom, I will come back and show you how it looks at that point. So I'll see you then. All right, now this has actually dried overnight. I ended up putting a second coat on. Now, let's see if I can get this off. And I've still got the same paint. I did add another drop of paint simply because I had used up most of it, but that paint stayed nice underneath its cover overnight. I did wash the brush out. And now after this coat dries, I'll probably put a second coat on, and then I'm going to very carefully go all around, like there's a little white spot showing there. Try to make sure you have no white areas showing on your piece. Let the paint dry, and when this is completely dry, we'll put a finish coat on and then put some wood into it. So I'll be back when this dries. All right, once you have your log holder completely covered in black paint, go ahead and put a clear finish on. I'm going to attempt to put a clear coat of matte Mod Podge, but I have hopefully enough to actually cover this. I really need to remember to buy some more. So I'm going to coat this in just some matte Mod Podge because I don't want a big shine. I just want it to look nice and finished. I'll do the parts I can with it standing up, and then once this dries, I'll come back. I'll put a coat on the bottom side, and once the Mod Podge is dry, I'll come back and we can move on to the next step. All right, the Mod Podge has dried and this looks great. And you could leave it at this point, but I'm going to put some firewood in mine. I've got these are just pieces of some branches. One day when I was out taking my walk, I found a branch that was laying on the sidewalk. I picked it up, I brought it home, cut it into pieces that would fit easily on a cookie sheet lined with aluminum foil, bake them off long enough to kill any bugs and dry them out completely. And now I've got a ready supply of wood pieces that I can use to look like firewood and things like that. So I split some of these lengthwise to make like split wood, and I've got some round pieces. I'm going to glue mine in. You could just glue the pieces together so that you could take them out if you wanted to. I'm going to put some glue in here. Now I'm going to try to not have the glue where it's going to show. And we don't have to put a whole lot in here. We can, put as much or as little as you want in your log holder. And this, by the way, is the glue that I had yesterday that I put this together with. I didn't add any to it this morning. So it is still very usable by being covered up. All right. And this glue will probably not hold up for a lot of handling, but this is going to, it's just enough to hold it in place while it's, being stored and being on display. So put your wood in the way you want it, let the glue dry, and when this is dry, we'll come back and we'll take a look at our finished piece. All right, the glue on this is completely dry and it is ready to put in place next to the fireplace in the dollhouse. Be sure and hop over to the blog post. Not only will you find the link to the free downloadable pattern so you can make your own log holder, but you'll also find photos of the steps as well as my thoughts and anything I think of while I'm writing the blog that I maybe forgot while I was filming. That happens a lot, I'm afraid. If you enjoyed the video, be sure and hit the like button. Leave me a comment. What kinds of things would you like to see in future videos? If you enjoy my content and haven't subscribed, be sure and hit that subscription button and the notification bell so you know when I put up a new video. Thank you very much for watching today, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.